All right, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We'll get started where everyone else does. What's your earliest childhood memory?
I thought about this one hard.
Let's go.
Just because I listened to other podcasts that you did.
You knew it was coming.
I knew this question was coming.
All right.
So, I mean, I've got a lot of childhood memories that are like sort of foggy, just in a sense because like, I don't know, really young or whatever and don't remember them fully.
Mm-hmm.
One that's like really like memorable that sticks out to me is, so a little bit of a backstory. My grandparents, when my brother, I have a brother that's 4 years younger.
Okay.
My grandparents used to watch us every Friday during the summer, and then sometimes in school, like they'd pick us up from school on Fridays. That was just like their day.
Yeah.
Fridays, we were seeing Nana and Papa. And they lived in Schaumburg, so my mom would, in the summer, drop us off out there.
Oh, nice.
And there was a farm nearby.
Okay.
So we would always go to the farm, and this was when I was really pretty young. I would say probably 6, 7 maybe, because my brother was still like kind of being pushed around in a stroller.
Yeah.
And there was a chicken coop.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really like seen chickens before, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and my grandma was like, "Oh, don't go up to don't stick your fingers in there, but like, you just got to find out for yourself." So stuck my finger in there, got bit by a chicken, like started bleeding, screaming probably bloody murder as a little kid. But that one just sticks out to me the most.
Yeah.
And I just think because it's one of those early life lessons.
Right.
It's like, hey,
right. Yeah. You can tell a kid anything, but unless they figure it out, like it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Did you go to that farm like for many a years or see your grandparents a lot? Or?
Yeah, we did a lot of stuff at that farm. I like learned to milk a cow there.
Really?
Yeah. It was like a full working farm, so you could
that's
go
very cool.
and people could come in and park and kind of walk through the farm, and there were nature trails through it. But they had pigs, they had sheep, they had chickens, cows, horses. Yeah. It was like a full functioning farm, but one that you could just go and kind of explore and learn about farm life. Yeah.
I feel like, did you learn things a lot faster when you were there? Did you enjoy being out there a lot more than regular school, or what was the vibe for you?
Yeah, I think it was kind of special to my grandparents too, because they both grew up on farms when they were younger. And so that was like, living in the Chicagoland suburbs, there's not many farms around, but being one that it's still a working farm, it was kind of like an homage for them to go back and be like, hey, this is sort of like how we grew up everyday life. Yeah.
We see a lot of corn, but that's what we think farming is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but there's like livestock and taking care of that, and you're up super early, and it's a nonstop working job. Yeah. So just like being able to walk around there was pretty cool. Yeah. I was super into animals when I was younger. Yeah. And so the farm actually connected with a nature preserve. I wish I remember the name of it. It'll come to me. But so we would walk, like there'd be 3 or 4 mile trails between the farm and the nature preserve. So we'd park at the farm, walk to the nature preserve. The nature preserve had like turtles on showcase. They had like bees and stuff. So we could learn about like all different animals and the wildlife that was in that area. Owls and deer and stuff like that.
That seems like the place.
So it was just really fun for me because it was like, I didn't realize I was learning anything at the time, but I'm learning a ton, right? And so as a kid, it's not like you're sitting in a classroom or school, but you're still learning. Yeah. So.
Well, and like a little bit embarrassed, but for me, I don't know when I learned like where our food came from, because I would go grocery shopping with my mom all the time, and I was like, oh, the food comes from the grocery store. And like I didn't know any side of like, butchering or growing or things of that nature, but learning at a young age, that's like you learn a lot more that way.
Yeah. I didn't really know that either. But like looking back, I know that we always had a separate freezer in our basement, and it was always stocked with frozen meat because my grandparents would buy a cow every year, and they'd have it butchered and then kind of quartered and shared among the siblings. So my mom and her 2 brothers and then her sister. Yeah. We'd all get like some of it, or they'd all pitch in. I don't know exactly how it worked, but I just knew that we always had fresh meat downstairs. So, and it was not grocery store meat. It was like it came from a farm, from a butcher.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. I feel like a generation and a half, like that's how people are now trying to go back to living. Because like in our garage right now, we have a freezer with half a cow in it.
There you go.
we're like, we want to try to get like as close as to the butcher as possible, the farm. Yeah. And it's just, and I think when our parents grew up, it was work as much as you can, get things as easy as possible, because that had never been a thing before.
Yeah.
So growing up for you, we'll say like elementary or middle school, what did your days look like?
Aside from the school, my brother and I, we were always in sports.
Yeah.
I played pretty much every sport where my brother just played baseball.
Okay.
So it was like, wake up, get our breakfast. Early on, I loved Zaboomafoo, which I don't know if you even know what that show is.
Is that the one with the monkey?
Yes.
That they call, and then like
the two guys, and then the lemur comes. I forget what type of lemur it is, but he comes down, and then you learn about other animals, and there'll be this like a platypus swimming around in like this water tank, and they're like, let's learn about the platypus family or whatever. So that was always on at 6 a.m. So I was like kind of always an early riser, just because like sleepy-eyed Tyler would come downstairs and be like, what's for breakfast? Like make the waffles or the cereal, and I'd start watching Zaboomafoo. Yeah. We'd go off to school. And then after, we were always in sports. So I grew up playing. I started playing soccer. I played t-ball. I went into Little League baseball. I played football. I played hockey. I did play basketball for a little bit. I just was not tall as a kid. Yeah. So I tried them all. And my brother was more just like a baseball player.
So you doing all these sports, did your parents give you directions on how to figure out a sport? Did they try to point you in a certain direction? What was the...
For the most part, they kind of just let us do what we wanted to. So I would just have friends, I'm sure, that were in a sport. And I was like, so-and-so plays football. I want to try football. And they're like, okay, are you sure? Like, you really want to commit to this? You want to do it? Yeah, I want to try to play football. And I vividly remember one day getting picked up from like after school care, and my mom was like, come on, Tyler, we got to go. We got to go get you ready for football practice. I was like, I don't want to go today. My friends are hanging out. I want to hang out with my friends. And my mom was like, you're going to football. Yeah. You can decide after this season if you want to continue, but you've already made this commitment and you're not backing out of it. Yeah. You don't get to choose when you want to and go to practice. Right. So that was like, I remember it being a harsh reality. That was like, dang, I'm so mad at my mom for making me go do this. But today it's like, now I look back and I'm like, yeah, so anything you try to commit yourself to, like, follow through with it. And I think that still sticks with me today.
No, absolutely. Was there any sports that your parents wouldn't allow you to play? Like, I think the two that stand out for me was football, because my mom was deathly afraid of concussions, even though now they're like soccer and like taking headers, you get micro concussions. Yeah. But then like swimming, because it was super early, she just didn't want to wake up early. Did you have any sports that you guys couldn't do?
No, they were pretty supportive if there was anything that we wanted to try. Yeah. I know football was later on. I don't think I started playing football, and I wanted to early on. Yeah. I didn't play until 5th or 6th grade. Okay. Played in like the Pee Wee League nearby, and then I played middle school football, and then I think I even tried out for the freshman football team. But like I said, I was really short, and I loved playing wide receiver, and was just like overshadowed by some of the guys that like hit puberty earlier and were that got their growth spurts. Yeah. So football was one that they kind of held off on for a little bit, and then hockey for sure. Okay. Hockey, I wish I had started earlier, but it's a really financial commitment to play hockey. Yeah. The ice time, the seasons cost a lot, the equipment, and then so just growing out of the equipment, it's not stuff you rent. You kind of got to buy it all yourself. The sticks, like it's just all really expensive. So they started taking us to Blackhawks games really early on. Okay. And I loved watching hockey, and it was like 5th, 6th grade. I was like, I really want to play hockey. I really want to play hockey. And they're like, are you sure you want to? Like, will you stick with this? Yeah. So I think finally in 6th or 7th grade, I was allowed to try out and play hockey, and I ended up loving it. I think hockey's the sport I played the longest. I played all throughout high school. Yeah.
Very cool. So it seems like we really enjoy the sports. We glossed over the school. Was that enjoyable for you at all? Or is it just hanging out with buddies?
No, it was more just hanging out with buddies and going. I don't remember much from school. Like it was just something I had to do. It's not that I didn't like school. I was a pretty good student, like probably CB average student. Yeah. I'm not a good test taker for sure. I just couldn't take tests. I couldn't focus for that long or whatever. But school was it was always like extracurricular activities.
Was there any classes that ever excited you, or any teachers that were like, hey, like this is enjoyable?
Yeah, my 6th grade teacher was really memorable. she was just really good to students. She was well known with like the families in my neighborhood. I think that I always liked math, but because of her, math was my strongest subject in school, all throughout high school and college.
Yeah.
But no, other than that, not.
Yeah. So like we're trying to do homeschooling because we're both at home anyways. And everyone that I talk to, they're always like, oh, there was like a subject or a class I liked, and it was because of their teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if there's experiences like you had on the farm, like you learned in real life, like by doing it, like, hey, let's go count blackjack at the casino. Probably can't do that super early, but we're going to learn math real quick.
Real life lessons. The stuff they should teach you in school.
Yeah, you just lost your allowance, but you know what? You got next week.
Hey.
That's fine.
You live and you learn.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. But do you think that any of the other classes like history or English or something like that could have been different from you, or that's just like that just wasn't going to be it?
Gosh, my mom had a saying that I remember that was like, history is history. You just won't remember it. And that truly was like, history was so boring to me. But
I love
now that I get older, it's I truly enjoy history. I like looking back and like learning on history and like why this happened and how this happened and things like that. So I think that's just more of a like as I mature.
Well, and it's like super tough if you're not enjoying something and you're like, hey, you got to study for this test. It's like, cool, I'll get like a C. I'll pass. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
So we won't go too far ahead, but in high school, did your school have a hockey team, or like what was the situation?
It was a club team, so we didn't have enough athletes within just our school. I went to South Elgin High School.
Okay.
To form a team.
Is that white and blue? Or no, that's Glenbard South.
Blue and red.
Blue and red, okay.
Yeah, the Storm.
Gotcha.
We didn't have enough players to form a team just South Elgin High School, so it had to be clubs. So I think it might be different now. I don't know. We had a student or two from Streamwood High School, from Elgin High School, South Elgin. We had the most.
Okay.
I think Larkin maybe had one. So we just like within the high schools in the area, if we could gather up enough hockey players, then we had a team based on that.
Yeah. Did you have a specific position? Did you like a specific position? What was?
Yeah, I was a forward.
Okay.
I played right wing specifically. Okay. I just always wanted to try to be a goal scorer.
Yeah.
Kind of get down there, in the boards and try to get something in the net. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't big enough to play defense.
Okay.
So there's 3 forwards and 2 defenders. Well, center, 2 forwards, and 2 defensemen.
Okay.
And defensemen just have to be bigger.
Yeah.
Like play the body.
Yeah.
So I wasn't big enough.
So, but on offense, you were fast enough to get around them. Is that how that kind of works?
Yeah. Fast and small enough. Like I could fit in little gaps and kind of cut through corners and whatnot.
So is there ever a small defender, or just in general you want a big defender? Because if your big guys are always getting worked, like does that play off, or like how do you?
Well, in general, like if you are a little bit taller, your stride in hockey is quicker.
Okay.
So you can get back quicker. You've got to be really good at skating backwards.
Gotcha.
As a defender, and then just bigger because when you're in your zone.
Yeah.
They're kind of the ones battling on the boards.
Okay.
And they have to be able to sort of like body and manhandle the smaller forwards that could quickly get around them to get backdoor and score or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So for you, I feel like hockey is a pretty physically intense sport. Did you do specific training for it growing up, or when did like the hitting the gym part start? It's
crazy that looking back, I didn't work out for any of the sports that I played. Like none of them. The weight room and like endurance, stamina was never a thing.
Yeah.
And now looking back, I see that that's just like, I don't know if it's wrong in a sense, but like if you are weight training and stuff, you're gonna build up your body and probably be better at that sport, or just be able to withstand more.
Right.
But no, like practice was, we'd go out on the ice, we'd skate, and that's all we did for practicing hockey.
Come home and then just eat whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. My metabolism was just like insane when I was younger.
What was your parents' conversation around food for you?
Pretty much always home cooked meals.
Oh, nice.
We did not eat out much.
That's tough with going to hockey and always traveling and stuff.
Yeah, especially in high school though. Hockey practice was always later at night. They were like 10 o'clock ice times. Yeah,
so. What's beforehand? Because I know I have a bunch of buddies some guys that when they have games, they're at like 10 or 11 o'clock. Yeah. Like, what's beforehand?
Oh, I had a routine in high school. I would come home from school. I would eat a snack.
Yeah.
I would take a nap.
Okay.
I would wake up. My mom would have dinner ready, 6 p.m. I'd do some homework after that.
What are you, 40?
Right? It was a crazy schedule, yeah. That's not like the normal, but that was just like what I had to do to survive to get to those 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock practices.
Well, what's the arena doing beforehand? Like, is it just like figure skating beforehand? Or?
Right. So there's in the actual arena that I went to, there was only 2 sheets of ice, and so they have to share that with figure skating or younger kids playing
something
hockey.
Making more money.
So everyone gets an hour of ice time, but you got to fit that in. And even after us, the high schoolers, there'd be adults men's league. So men's league wouldn't even start till like 11:30, which is blows my mind. Like
that's wild.
Even now I still can't imagine. Like I don't know. I'd have to wake up from sleep to go to hockey.
I see one guy that posts, and it's always like from the day before at like 11 or 12 o'clock. We won again. I'm like, you are going to work tomorrow and making financial decisions for other people.
Right. Yeah, it just goes in order. So like the younger kids get earlier ice time.
Okay. I mean, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's rough.
Yeah. But I had my routine down.
Yeah.
And it worked for me.
Yeah.
I would get some sleep in, and then I'd come home after hockey, shower. I was probably in bed just before midnight if I'm lucky, and wake up at 5, 6, to do it again the next day.
What was there any mental conversations with anything about like your body or appearance, with either being like short or skinny, or did that ever enter in high school or anything like that?
I was always a string bean. Yeah. I was skinny, super skinny. I might have hit puberty like between junior and senior year of high school. Like I was short. I grew like 6 inches that summer. I put on weight. I started actually working out, and people were like, whoa, this is a crazy change.
What are you doing? Hormones.
Yeah.
They're actually here now.
Yeah. Yes. Natural hormones. Yes. But no, I mean, other than that, I was always called, like, I always had chicken legs. I always was called string bean and skinny.
Did that ever upset you or anything like that?
No, it didn't bother me.
Why do you think, like, that didn't bother you? Because I know there's some people, like, it definitely bothers. I think a kid made fun of me in, like, 2nd grade for being, like, slightly overweight, and, like, I held on to that. But, like, where do you think your confidence came from?
I think it was something that, like, looking back, I mean, you can, but it's just something that I can't change. It's just like, it's genes. It's just it's what I am.
Yeah.
Like, so I can't change that. So I get upset with it.
Yeah.
Whereas in like, I don't know, in elementary school, I used to dye my hair. I would do like blonde streaks down the middle. And if someone made fun of me for that, well, it's something that I did. So then if someone's making fun of me, like, dang, that's something I could change. Like, I shouldn't have done that. That bothers me. But it's like, I can't help being skinny. I don't know. I eat what I eat, and I'm not doing anything wrong. Like, I'm not doing anything out of the ordinary. I'm just skinny. So be it.
I feel like that's a very healthy perspective to have on it. Do you think it was anything like your parents said? Because so I had a thyroid issue. My thyroid stopped working in middle school, so I was on HGH in like high school, and like yourself, I finally started growing later in high school. Oh, wow. But like if someone made fun of me, I was like, I'm trying, like I'm working on it. My thyroid just isn't working. Hold on.
So what was the thyroid issue that you had?
So my thyroid stopped producing HGH. So like when they went to go do the thyroid test, it was anything under, I think, like 100, like regular levels were from like 100 to like 900 or whatever. Could be completely wrong.
And is that a blood test they find out?
It was, I had to fast, and then I had to take sugar or something like that. Okay. Tasted terrible. I think it was like a glucose test or something. And then like my numbers were like astronomically low. They're like, oh, like this isn't good. Mm-hmm. thyroid problems run in my family, so like, okay, like makes sense.
Okay.
But I was 5'4", and like I was in the 95th percentile for height and weight, and then I just like stopped growing. So like, oh, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
But it took like a year or so to figure it out, and so I was taking HGH, very low level, but like you couldn't tell until like the end of high school that like so I'm now
you're what, 6 foot?
I'm 6, almost 2. People that are 6'2" are like, hey, you're not 6'2". I'm like, I know, but people that are 6'1" are like, you're huge. I'm like, sure, we'll take it. Like, who? But yeah, if I didn't take any of that stuff, I would have been 5'4", and my body was just a beep. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very happy that my parents got me tested. But as far as like the mindset, I really wish I had that. Like, oh, if I can't change it, like, I'll let it go, kind of thing. So I'm always trying to figure out why people think the way they did. Were your parents just overly insightful, like you said? Like I liked your mom, like history is history kind of thing. Did she have any tidbits for you about like just how to feel, or that's just kind of what you saw?
No, it's just kind of what I felt at that time. I don't know. My brother was the same way. So it was like, I'm the older brother, and I see that like I'm gradually growing, and he's short and small, and it's like he'll get there too. Like it's just who we are. Like,
I think like conversations about it is huge, because back then, if I was able to talk to anybody about that, then I'm like, oh, like that makes a lot more sense. But like talking to someone about feelings when you're younger, like that just didn't really happen.
Yeah. I think that it's also a different day and age now. Like we don't have the like instant social media on your phone when I was growing up. So it's not like, I don't know. You go back, you post a picture, and you like look at the comments, and they're like degrading, and then like that's something you got to go to sleep with. It's a different day and age now.
Jessica gets comments all the time. It's hilarious. Like she'll get people that are just frustrated and be like, hey, your kid's ugly. And I'll just
you're like, what?
How are you so angry?
What did I do to you? Are you serious? Just tell them, because hey, they can't help it.
Yeah, they can't help it.
They can't help
I'll let them know.
Yeah.
So moving from high school to college, was the decision to go where you're going for sports? Was it for academics? Like, how did you make your decision?
That's a great question. I don't know. No, it was not for sports. It wasn't for academics. It was just kind of like, it just felt like something I had to do. Like next steps of graduating high school is now going to college.
Yeah.
I grew up caddying, so I was always on a golf course.
Okay.
I liked architecture. I took a few like just random like specialty classes in high school where we would work with like AutoCAD and do like
AutoCAD
build
1 and 2.
Yeah, and then build like just buildings and stuff. And I was like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
So like, could I mesh the two? So that's kind of how that started, as far as like looking for.
Can you build golf and architecture?
Like
really?
Yeah, like can you design and do like architecture for golf courses?
That's
like, is that a thing maybe? So started to look into that, and also like going back to my roots as a kid, as like being outside, doing work outside, and then found that there's this thing called landscape architecture.
Your guidance counselor must have been so pumped that you came to them with like an actual plan and like things that you
I don't remember that specifically, but you're like, hey, this all goes together, and like this is what I want to do, and they're like, no, we haven't even heard of this. Like, what is this? Are you sure? Well, so when I was looking for, I guess that's a good question. So when I was looking for schools, colleges to go to, there was 11 accredited landscape architecture programs, just meaning like you'd get a degree in landscape architecture rather than like a bachelor's in science with a study in landscape or horticulture. So there's not much to choose from. Now I think there's over 100. Don't quote me on that, but it's growing. It's huge.
We're quoting you on it. We're cutting it.
We'll see. We'll do the fact checks after this. I bet there's probably over 100, but when I was looking, there was 11.
Okay.
So that kind of narrowed it down right away of where I could even look to go to school. And then some of them were just out of the question. Like, they were just too expensive. I didn't have scholarship for them, just based on academics prior and whatnot. So that narrowed it down pretty quickly there. So I went to Iowa State University.
Is that where you met Spencer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We met at school. We were in the same fraternity.
I thought you guys both grew up there, so this makes more sense.
No. He is from Iowa, not far from there. I did not. I ventured about 5 hours away.
Okay.
It was between Iowa State University and Arizona State University, and like without a doubt, I was going to Arizona State.
Well, yeah, it was a top party school.
Yeah, it's a party school. Like I'm an 18-year-old, like 17-year-old kid, whatever. Like I'm gonna go party. This is gonna be awesome. I'm not gonna have to like worry about school, whatever. My mom's like, that's fine. You can go there if you want. It is far away. You know, it's gonna be tough for you to come home. Where Iowa State, it'll be much easier.
Yeah.
She's like, you have to go visit. Before you make a decision, you have to go visit. So we went in February. It was like 80 degrees. Like the outdoor pools were open. Yeah. And I was like, this is awesome. I'm going here. I'm absolutely going here. Like girls were really pretty. There were girls, like college girls in bikinis out at the pool in February. I'm like,
this is great.
Yeah, like no brainer. Yes, I'm going here, Mom. And she's like, okay, that's fine. That's your decision to make. And then the next day we had a tour of the design school, which is where I knew I'd be spending a lot of time in the landscape architecture program. Like everywhere I toured was like, you will spend overnight. Like you will do overnighters here. You will be putting a lot of time and effort into this. And the school, like the actual building itself that I'd be spending the most time in was a dump.
No.
Like absolutely terrible.
What a blessed
No
bikinis.
AC. It was February. It was already hot in there. I'm like, I can't even imagine this in, August or May, like when things start to heat up here in Arizona. So that was like my deciding factor.
It's
like,
so
all right,
wild
it's
that
not Arizona State.
In architecture, like residence or where you're going to spend a lot of time, like sucked architecturally and just to be in.
What's crazy too, though, with Iowa State is the design school itself. The building was really cool. It was like very architecturally interesting.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the oldest buildings on campus. Like, it hadn't been updated. It hadn't, had anything like that. But it was just really cool. It was neat to me.
Yeah.
The professors that I did meet with when I did that tour were really exciting and seemed like really.
So how many people are going on this specific tour, or were you in with everybody else, or how did you?
Yeah, just the general college visit tour. And then when you would go visit your school that you'd be applying for, you'd kind of branch out as far as I remember it. And I do remember when I did the Iowa State tour, they said that there's one semester in your fourth year that you have to do an internship, student exchange to go to a different university within the U.S. or do study abroad. Like you are not allowed to enroll here, and you will not get credit for that semester.
That's a great.
And so I was like, oh, cool. That semester I'll go to Arizona State. That was my plan all along. It's like, I get the best of both worlds. I'll go to Iowa State when I'm older. My junior year, I'll go to Arizona State and like live it up for a semester and then come back and like hunker down and be serious. That never ended up happening. By that time, I was like, I don't want to stay in the States. I want to go. I want to go study abroad at that point. So
grew up a little bit. You're like,
yeah.
There's chicks in bikinis overseas.
Yeah,
this is great.
Yeah.
So, knowing Arizona was a party school, were you partying a lot in high school?
Yeah. I think I got it out of the way early.
Yeah.
I was a good student in high school. I got good grades, but I was a little bit of not a troublemaker, but like, I don't know. If you're watching this, now you know.
Hey, you're doing great.
Hey, they probably knew, but played dumb. Like, Tyler, we got another call from school. Like, why'd you miss this period and this period? It's like, I was there. They missed me in attendance. Like, yeah, every day they're not missing you. No, like, where are you going? I'm like, I was there, I swear. Just like going out ditching class for a semester and then an hour and then coming back.
Yeah. What were you guys doing for that hour?
Probably stuff we shouldn't have been doing. I'll plead the fifth on that one.
So it seems like those things didn't get in the way of life, so you had a healthy relationship with whatever you were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we narrow it down? Like, was it meth?
It wasn't meth. No, it was no hard drugs. It's things that are legal now, but
that's fine.
Just
great.
exploring as a teenager. And like I say, I really do believe like I got that out of the way early.
Yeah.
And come my senior year when like I'm starting to realize like, hey, this group of friends that I'm hanging out with, like I'm one of the few that are going away to college and they're not, and there's a reason they're not going away to college. Like they could be going into the trades or something, like maybe school's just not for them. Yeah. But there's also some scenarios where like, hey, they tried to go to college and like, they couldn't get there. So like, let's really like be fortunate for what you got.
So
here.
What do you think the difference was in your life that you were able to like see that was going on and not continue down that path?
Ooh. Looking back, I think it's probably sports.
Okay.
I had older cousins that I looked up to as well. On both sides, my mom and my dad's side of the family. And just knowing like my older cousin Corey, he was going to school at Iowa State at the time, and I had visited him once or twice when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And just being like, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, when I get away and like I'm on my own, like I'm gonna have so much fun. I have to get here. I gotta do whatever it takes to get here. And so like some of those friends in high school that aren't going away to college, it's like, hey, I know like when we graduate, we're all on our own, so I'm gonna figure out how I'm doing it. Like, good luck. So I think that. And then I do think like my senior year, I did shift a little bit of who I was kind of hanging out with. Maybe just being really committed to hockey and sports and like fitness, and that's kind of when I got into it. Weightlifting at that time was like, hey, these guys kind of have their shit together, and some of these other guys that just kind of want to go, be bums after school is maybe not the route I want to go.
Yeah. As far as lifting goes, are you following like a strength and conditioning program, bodybuilding.com? What are we getting into?
Your typical bro fitness. Like, back and buys, chest and tries, never do leg day, always skip that, find a reason to skip that, don't do any cardio. It was that typical, like,
how much more did you start eating trying to get big?
Quite a bit. At that point, I realized like food is the way you get bigger. And me still being kind of a string bean was like, I gotta up my protein intake. Mom, when you make dinner the night before, like make leftovers so I can come home and eat snacks, like good meals right away, and then also eat again later in the day, just so like I can keep adding fuel to my body. Yeah. That's kind of senior year of high school. I kind of figured that out.
Yeah. I feel like there was a time where I was just getting into fitness, and my mom, I was still living at home, so she would pay for the food I was getting. Yeah. I was like, oh, we're getting like 92.8 ground beef from Trader Joe's. We got all this protein. And then like I moved out. I'm like, that was a terrible idea.
Damn. This is kind of hard figuring out 3 meals a day.
I was coaching, and then I'd come home and eat 2 blocks away. Why am I getting away from this? Yeah. So when you got to college, it just so fantastic that you had like a plan and a direction. Like that's love to hear it. Mm-hmm. What were classes like when you got there?
They were good. I actually really enjoyed class. The curriculum that I went through with the landscape architecture program, it was a really, really small class that we went through. So our professors were like the same 3 professors that taught 3 different classes. Yeah. And we had our typical gen eds too that we could kind of branch out and whatnot. But it was like 32 students at the time. So it was like, it was this really close niche group of students that we'd kind of do a lot of things with. When we came of age, we would go out to the bars together, or we'd go, watch some guys in the class play in a band or whatever. So we'd do things together. But the classwork actually really interested me, and because we'd get outside. It wasn't just sitting in a classroom. We'd actually spend a lot of time outside. And if we were ever working on a project that was like, hey, we're going to design this specific site, here's the lot, we'd have to go out there 3 or 4 times.
Oh, nice.
Like in our senior year, like our senior thesis project, we worked on Vegas. We worked at a lot in Vegas, an empty lot in Vegas.
Did you guys go to Vegas?
Yeah, we went to Vegas twice and actually designed like a hotel, and then presented these plans to people that could potentially build this and do something in Vegas.
Hotel's multiple stories.
Yeah.
That's a big to-do right there.
And at that point, we were working with actual architects. We were working with interior designers, graphic designers, and then us landscape architects. So they like kind of paired us together in the landscape architects. So I had like the jobs of working on the front entrance and the pools. And I'm like, this is awesome. I'm designing these crazy ass pools. Yeah. Like, let's see how wild we can get with it.
Yeah. People, if you're listening, go watch the video. And this is how happy someone should be talking about their college or job.
Yeah, it was fun. Man, I really enjoyed it. Looking back on it. It was a good time. And then another thing in college. So it was a 5-year program. So I always say like, how long were you in college? Like 5 years. People are like, oh, you took the victory lap. I'm like, no, I was forced to. I knew right away that I'd be there 5 years no matter what. First year is sort of just general design classes. You go through like learning how to draw things, learning how to paint, learning how to work with all these different mediums. And then you actually have to apply to your program. So applying to the landscape architecture program. And then right when you get in, they're like, cool, you guys made it. We're going to go tour the country. We're going to go look at all these different landscapes around the country. So for 3 weeks, twice that semester, we loaded our stuff. We were able to pack like a big duffel bag. Yeah. We had to bring camping equipment because we would camp in some of these national parks.
No. Mm-hmm. How can you not enjoy this job?
Right. It was like, and then people, so funny because I'd be posting stuff about like, I'm in Denver this week. I'm in Rocky Mountain National Park this week. I'm in Savannah, Georgia. And then people are like, dude, do you go to school? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm actually in classes right now. I'm learning. Yeah. So that was,
yeah.
That was just a really...
The teachers must have just been so much more of a joy to be around because, like, they probably loved it, too.
They'd been doing it for years. Yeah. And some of my professors that I had, like, God love them, like, they put up with us doing crazy shit, like, at night, too. But, no, they were awesome. Like, the best people, like, they truly loved what they do because they are also leaving their families for 3 weeks or 4 weeks at a time to go on the road with us students. And so it's like, we're staying in... like Rocky Mountain National Park, and like we wake up in our tents. And it's like, hey, you got to be ready for class at 8 a.m. Like, pack your tent up, eat your breakfast, get everything in the vans, and we're driving for 2 hours to go visit the site.
Have you done a lot of camping before then, or was that your introduction?
Growing up, my family did a little bit of camping, not too much, but that was like, hey, you're on your own now camping. So it was like,
you got to put your own tent
out.
up.
Yeah, it wasn't like, hey, feast or famine. Yeah. They kind of went through stuff to prep us and be like, this is what you need when we camp. You will need your own little stove to cook your oatmeal in the morning or whatever.
Yeah. What was some of your favorite shenanigans that you guys would get into at night?
I don't really remember most of those shenanigans. I do remember one night waking up in my tent to another group of students screaming because there was a moose trying to get into their tent. And when we were going into that national park, they had told us, like, you can't leave anything in your tent that has smell. Mm-hmm. If it has an odor, deodorant, toothpaste, any food especially, like there are bears, there's moose around. Yeah. If you leave it in the tent, something's going to come try to figure out what that is. Yeah. And I think one of the students, there was a group of like 3 girls sleeping in a tent at one time, and one of them left like some toothpaste in their toiletry bag. And sure enough, like a moose came in at night and like was sniffing around their tent and like trying to pick at the tent and like pull it apart to get into it. Yeah. And so they just woke up screaming, like a park ranger had to come over in the middle of the night and just like keep its brights on them. Yeah. And we had still like 3 days left to camp at that time. So the girls were freaked out. Like they were like, we're not camping. Like, and so they gave us an option that's like, hey, if you don't feel comfortable camping anymore, we did get these little motels that you can now stay in. There will be a professor staying there with you. So don't feel like you have to camp. But me and my buddies were like, no, we're camping. We want to see this moose. Let's catch it. Let's catch it at night. We got to see it.
Mooses. They're massive.
Huge.
It's absurd.
I have seen so many, and it never gets old. Yeah. Every time I see them, my jaw hits the floor. And it's just like, I don't believe how there's this big of a thing roaming this planet. Like, it is monstrous. Yeah.
We went camping at Porcupine Trails Mountain. I think it's Michigan or something like that. Okay. And it was like 7 or 8 guys. There was bear poles everywhere. So like, oh, this is a great start.
What are bear poles? What do you mean?
So usually if you go camping, you put your stuff up in like a tree and hang it so animals can't go get it. Yeah. But they specifically had these next to the campsites to let you know, like, there's bears and other animals that, like, it's gonna happen. Like, just put it up there.
So is it like northern Michigan up there?
Might be. I don't think it's in the UP, but like it was maybe like a 5 or 6 hour drive to get up there. But the second night we were there, we heard something coming around sniffing. Everybody but like me and one other guy were carrying. Yeah. So
you feel fine.
Well, except for like a lot of them wear glasses, and they didn't have their glasses on.
Hurry, put the glasses on.
And it's just
where's it at?
You can hear like the sniffing, and like guys are just like yelling, like trying to make noise and stuff like that. It's
hey,
like,
bear, hey, bear.
Yeah, like I don't know what the scenario is, but like nothing happened, but it was very like camping now is like, yeah, should I have a concealed carry? Like, this is just like, you gotta watch out for these things.
On that topic, though, when you are in the wilderness and you are camping and you are in a tent at 1 a.m. and it's pitch black, the smallest it can be a little chipmunk, and that thing sounds like a bear.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like, it is frightening.
Yeah.
I do a camping trip with some college buddies every year, and we go out into, like, the middle of nowhere, Iowa. It's got no service, and we all camp. And I know there's nothing out there that is frightening, but, like, I'll be sitting in my tent in the middle of the night, and, like, I know it's a deer walking by or something, and it just sounds like an elephant coming through. It's so loud because it's so quiet elsewhere. Right. So, but I know that there is quite a bit of black bear in, like, northern Wisconsin and Michigan. Yeah,
and they're like, oh, yeah, we saw, not a tiger, a mountain lion or something. Like, there's a mountain lion sign. I was like,
that one's probably freakier.
I'm like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, we can go on a hike. That's fine. We'll find a nice place to camp. Like, it's fine.
Black bear, they're kind of scared of you. They're just like bigger raccoons, bigger trash pandas. They're just sniffing stuff out. But mountain lion, they can see you. You can't see them. Right. And if you do see one, there's a good chance you're in trouble. It's
already. not good. Yeah. So we're going back to Montana. And my stepdad's mom has a place on Flathead Lake up there, so we go there quite often during the summer. And I was running with my dog, and they have you pay less in property tax if you have 5 cherry trees on your property. So everyone's I think it's like you have to have X amount of cherry trees and maybe sell like 100, like a certain amount, whatever it is. But everyone's doing it because it's really expensive to live there. So I was running with my dog, and then I saw a black bear and 2 cubs probably from me to that door, and there's like a small mesh fence that like my head goes over. So I'm like, I start running back, but it's over 1.5 miles back to the house. Yeah. So then I'm like, this ain't gonna work. I start running back the other way. My dog's going after the bear. I'm like, come back with me. She listens. Like, she's very well trained. But we head to a guy in a lawnmower. And he's like, I saw you running the other way and then started running towards me. What's going on? I'm like, there's a massive bear. And like, you see it cross the street and go up into a tree, maybe 50, 75 yards away. He's like, oh, that's a pretty big one. Mm-hmm. Like, usually if it's just a mama bear, like, we'll just like mow the lawns right next to her. But since she's got cubs, that was a good move. Like that you came over here.
Yeah, because it comes into like protect my
right. And
I like at that point.
I'm breathing, my dog's just like heart's popping.
But it's totally normal for him too. He's just like, it's a bear. We see those all the time. He's probably carrying. He's got no concern.
Yeah, he had no concerns, and I'm like, I gotta get over there, because he was with a lawn mowing company and they had a truck and trailer and stuff. Could you like drive me over that direction? He's like, yeah. So they finished up. 20 minutes goes by. We jump on the back of his truck. Everybody's in the cab. He's driving up to where the tree is. I'm on the back with my dog, exposed. They stop right next to this tree and start like taking pictures of it and video. And I'm just like, hey, like, can we go?
I got in back here to get away from this thing. Stop bringing me closer.
But like, just some people are relaxed about it. Yeah. So I get dropped off because they're headed one way where we're going that way. And there's a family walking up like with kids and whatnot. And I'm like, hey, like there's a bear out there. Like, just watch out. And they're like, oh, yeah. I'm like,
they're like, cool, let's go see it.
Yeah, it's like, how are you so relaxed about this? Like, this year I'm bringing my drone everywhere I walk. I'm just going to have that thing be annoying as can be.
Yeah.
Just like, it's like, well, what's coming around just in case. But yeah, the wildlife stuff is just like, we have a very nice life. Sometimes we go and like risk it with a very fragile body.
Yeah.
Like, we're not doing anything.
Do you run around here?
I will run on the path sometimes with my dog.
So, and I've had this thought quite a few times. Like, if I'm running early morning or night and it's just dusk, it's starting to get dark out. I'm like, there's really nothing out here that I truly have to worry about.
Yeah, not really.
Right? But I've done a few hikes in Colorado or Wyoming or Utah where you start hiking when it's dark out or it's getting dark out at night, and you're like, I'm terrified because I know there's stuff out here.
Yeah.
That is scary. So we're like very fortunate in that. It's like, what's the biggest thing you're going to see around here? A deer.
Right.
Like, and what's a deer going to do? A coyote. Coyotes aren't going to bother you unless you got a little dog.
So the coyotes in Naperville, they tried to honeypot my dog when I was riding with her. So I would ride. There were some paths by us. And then they would just like run in front of her, and she'd go run after them, and then like 5 more would go behind her, and like I'd zap her, and she'd come back. She's faster, she's agile, 42-pound Australian Shepherd, like she could move. But like I called her back, and then like a coyote came and just like sat on the path and stared at me. I'm like, come on.
That's terrifying. Yeah, like, and they want to get. I know
I'm gonna be okay, but like leave my dog alone.
Yeah. Well, and your dog's probably right on the cusp of like being small enough where if there's 7 of them or whatever, they could. But if it's 1 or 2, they're not gonna. Yeah. They're not gonna push it.
Yeah.
That's scary though.
Yeah. It's very light out. Like leave us alone.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna be okay. When you go hiking or camping, do you carry? I saw that you shoot bow and arrow, but do you do anything?
It depends how I travel when I get there. If I drive, yes. If I fly, no. I've never flown with it.
Yeah.
There was a time in Wyoming a couple years ago where we flew there, my friend group and I, and all we had was bear spray, and I was like, I pray that I don't have to use this can because I don't trust that this 5-second bear spray is going to do anything.
Yeah.
And as we're like hiking into this backcountry territory where there's signs that say like, hey, no help from here on, you know, like this is bear country. Like you're in there, you're in their territory. So it's a little frightening. And that times I'm like, why didn't I bring, like, why am I not?
Hey guys, next time I'm driving, just just a heads up, I'm driving next time.
But no, thankfully I've never had any scary encounters.
Yeah. You've made it. Yeah. You've done all right.
Yeah.
So we're close to graduating. We're heading overseas for not the last semester, but a semester. How did you pick, and like what was that like?
My program offered a Rome study abroad, Rome, Italy. But it was all with, again, Iowa State professors and Iowa State students. And I had at that point, it was my spring. I told you it was a 5-year program. So it was technically my junior year, but I was in my 4th year of school.
Yeah.
And I had enough kind of like Iowa State people, professors. I'm like,
okay,
I'm going to figure out how to go to Rome, but sort of on my own.
Okay.
And so I found another institution that credits would transfer.
Okay.
So I sort of went out there knowing nobody. I'd never been out of the country before.
Let's go.
I got on a flight.
Just sent it. That's wild.
Just sent it. Like that January, I figured out how to make like all the payments through Iowa State to go to that new university, but like I didn't know anybody. My roommates there were random, and it turned out being the best life experience I could ever have.
That's fantastic. Yeah. What made it so good of a life experience?
It was very little school, actually. Okay. So like a lot of free time to travel and kind of go out and, you know, explore the city. We only had classes Monday through Thursday. There was no option to even take class on Friday.
Yeah.
School wasn't open on Friday. The guys that I got placed with, there was 6 of us total. My roommate that I live with, Martine, I still stay in contact with him a little bit today. But he had already been there a semester, so he was kind of like our tour guide. He'd be like, hey, this is what you guys want to do. Avoid these little dumb things, like tourist traps, whatever. But he'd go out with us too, and like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And then there were 2 other guys from Michigan State who I actually still keep in touch with today. And then 2 Notre Dame guys that we live with. So it was a good group of guys that we could go out with and grab dinner with and explore the city. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. So was it did the architecture and all that stuff excite you a lot, or it was more of like, hey, I'm like, we're out here?
That's kind of where it got into the history. Like that's where history came back and was like, yo, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I took same thing. I took a ancient Roman history class based on the architecture. So we'd literally walk around the city and be like, hey, this is where Julius Caesar was stabbed 17 times or 23 or whatever it is. Like, this is exactly the spot that it happened.
Yeah.
Here's where, you know, the Colosseum was, and here's where the emperors looked over the Colosseum. Like, these were the box seats up there and whatnot. So it was like really cool to see that in real time. I just hear about the history. Like 2,000 years ago, they figured out a way to have like some restaurant up top of the, like overlooking the Coliseum that would like spin and turn. And you're like, what? They figured this out.
How did they do that?
No idea.
Was it water? Did it float? Is that kind of how it's spun?
I don't know. They were just like kind of uncovering it when I was there. And that was the crazy thing about Rome is like, they'd start to do construction on anything and then just get completely halted because they found ruins of something and be like, whoa, this is actually this. Like, we can't build here. We can't put this road here. We can't do this.
We can't do
so Rome kind of just like over time, they've just like built layer on layer just because they, and then anytime they dig, they're like uncovering something.
Yeah. So the Colosseum, was that, did they also do like, ocean warfare in there and stuff like that?
Are you asking because the new did you see the trailer for Gladiator 2?
I did not, but okay. It was probably Joe Rogan that mentioned it like probably 5 years ago or something.
They did. They were so ahead of their time. Somehow they figured out like trap doors that they could raise people up into and then lower them out. They would figure out how to get like from the aqueducts, like run water into the Coliseum and do like swim battles and stuff like that. Just crazy, like technology, but like
ability.
The ability of what they could do back then.
Our local quarry has a problem with like too much water running out of it. Like I feel like if hundreds of years ago
they figured
the Romans could have figured it out, we should have some type of insight to that.
And if you watch that trailer, there is a scene in there where they're like fighting, they're having a gladiator battle in the Coliseum, but they're on ships and there's sharks in the water.
That's pretty cool.
And I don't know if there's any valid like truth to that, but I wouldn't put it past them. Like that's what
we're gonna import this shark.
Figured out how to
from
do.
Where?
They would
Julius from where?
They would bring in rhinos. They bring in like tigers and stuff, and just like have these gladiators be like, let's see if we can defeat this tiger. Good luck.
That's wild. So just all around fantastic time.
Yeah.
So that when you came back, were you like, hey, I want to live in Rome, or like, how do you make your next move?
I was there for 5 months. So
5 months.
That's
so long.
From January to May.
Wow.
So, I mean, I got a little bit homesick, and I think I was kind of ready to come home after that. As soon as I got back here, like I wanted to go back. I love the U.S. and there's so much like geographically here to do, but we have 300 years of history here. They have 2,000 plus years. So like learning about that history was just so much more fascinating.
You can go talk to like your grandma and she knows like the first person.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she knows somebody that came over on the boat like here. Yeah. Where over there you're like, it goes back and this relative was this relative, and it goes back years. So
what was your eating habits like there?
Food was really relatively inexpensive.
Yeah.
I did eat out quite a bit, but we'd go out and get like a pasta dish or something at a local restaurant, and it was not expensive to do and not unhealthy for you. It's crazy. Their carbs over there are not different. They're very different than our carbs here.
Their carbs are different.
You eat some lasagna here and you feel bloated as all hell and full for 2 days. You eat it there, you're like, I'm good.
Yeah, we got to talk to Spencer about this. What are they doing different? With their seeds.
We spray our seeds with all kinds of crap and have all this folic acid and whatnot in it. Don't even get me started in that. But no, but I did do a fair bit of cooking over there because I was still very conscious. Like I worked out every day in that small little gym that we had there.
Okay.
The go-to meal I think that me and all my roommates would make would be like we'd put like a bed of spinach down. We'd like stir fry some chicken.
Yeah.
We'd do like zucchini, squash, corn, avocado. Just make like this healthy green bowl. Yeah. We did that a lot.
What were you doing as far as workouts go? Did you just have like a circuit you did? Was it still a bro split? What are we hitting?
A little bit of a bro split. I did not know anything about CrossFit at that time. So, but I was more kind of into, I wouldn't call it endurance training, but I did a lot more like cardio at that point. So I would go on runs. I would walk around that city. In the gym, I'd do typical stuff like lat pull downs and bench press and deadlifts and squats and all
runs there must have been phenomenal.
Beautiful. I would get lost. I wanted to get lost. I'd be like, I'd go out as far as I can. Like, dang, I'm 3 miles from home. I got to make it back. All right, whatever. Yeah. Like you're just nonstop, like gazing at stuff. I think I averaged probably like 10 miles a day. Not just running, but like walking around the city. I walked to all my classes. I walked to all the grocery stores, and I would just walk around the city.
All right, relax, Mo.
Pictures.
All right.
Yeah. Mo's crazy. He's a different breed. Mo's a different breed.
So we come back. We know what we're looking at. We graduate. How do we pick what's next?
I interned with the company that I'm at now. Okay. They kind of gave me free rein with that internship just to kind of explore all the different divisions of the company. Yeah. As far as design, sales, production, construction, things like that. So then coming back home, I didn't really want to move back to this Illinois area. I knew that when I moved back here, I'd kind of get stuck because I'd end up loving what I'm doing now and kind of set roots here. Yeah. I wanted to be out west sort of with the in more nature, if you will.
With the bears.
With the bears and the moose and the lions, yeah. But no, I ended up coming back here, starting position with the company I'm at now. Been with them since I interned with them in 2017, and I mean, it's awesome. I have a lot of responsibility with it, but also a lot of freedom too, as far as hey, you've got some numbers to meet, and you've got things you have to get done, and if you get those things done, you can you get some freedom with it. So. Yeah.
Well, so were you a hot commodity coming out of one of the 11 schools that have an accredited program, or?
I wouldn't say a hot commodity. It was really tough because landscape architecture, there's such a broad range of what you can do. You can go into the public sector, and as far as community and regional planning, planning the development of cities.
Yeah. I need to talk to those people because most places suck.
Oh, right. Yeah. So somebody thought that through and thought it was a good idea. And you're like, I didn't get a degree in this. What? This is dumb.
How could they have thought this worked? For an hour and a half on why you thought this was a good idea.
Right. There's some cities that have it down, though, as far as absolutely. Transport and light rails that run through them and
that's and we learned to cheat off their homework and hey, this is what so and so did. Yeah, just do it here.
Yeah. So we learned about all that. I fell into the residential design. Yeah, which I love because projects kind of happen a lot quicker than a city-wide project.
Oh, I can't imagine. I mean, they put in a roundabout, and I think it was $10 million, and it was planned out 30 years ago.
Yeah. Exactly. I hated that. I was like, I don't want to put all this time and effort into something and maybe see it when I'm old.
Explain to me why they didn't just keep the stoplight they had there, put a little dirt in the middle, and then just put the 10 mil?
Yeah.
Come on.
See? And they had to get grants and get the funding for this. Taxpayer dollars are paying for it and build up that.
I feel like they got all the money from the polo fields. They just didn't want a road that everyone.
Polo field.
So out in Sugar Grove, it's kind of like Batavia. Fabian kind of runs into it. There's a polo field there, which whenever I drive by, there's really nice cars. So they probably just didn't want normies driving by them anymore. And they're like, hey, we'll help you out.
Okay.
Get them out of here.
That's cool. I didn't know about that out there.
Yeah, there's a polo field, and then people do paragliding there.
Okay.
So, but I was just like, all right, rich people things.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So when someone has a job, when do you come into the picture?
So say you want something done in your backyard. You kind of want to blow out your backyard and create this outdoor living space. You would call us. We would have one of our ladies in our office, our office managers, kind of vet the call and just explain our process and how that works. Just to kind of get them ready and prepared for what we're going to talk about when we meet. I'd go out there and meet with them, and then from that point on, I kind of handle it from there out. So we do have a full team of designers that if it does move forward to the design process, I'd throw it back to them and say, this is kind of what I want to see. They'd put together this awesome design, this 3D rendering, sort of like stuff you see on HGTV.
Nice. Except for real.
Except for real. Yeah. So HGTV comes in. It's like, we're both middle school teachers and our budget's $3 million. What? And that's not always the case.
Yeah. I've already bought this house, but I have to act like I haven't bought it. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to do some shoddy work for me, but it's going to look good on camera.
Correct. Yeah. No, we do really extensive work in what we can do and produce. So But then, so yeah, I present it once that design's created. If it does go through to the sale and get on a production schedule, then I kind of manage it throughout that. We've got an awesome like office team that puts together permits and starts ordering materials. And then once that job is starting and kind of breaking ground, then I'm sort of out there kind of just overseeing crews a little bit day to day.
So what is your favorite part? Is it the coming up with the image of it? Is it seeing at the end? Like, what do you enjoy so much about it?
Yeah, it's coming to life. Like it's from my initial meeting with them, talking through what this could be, to seeing it done and created. And more oftentimes than, I mean, majority of the time, people are like thrilled with it and are like, this is better than I ever thought it could be. Yeah. And it's really awesome. And being able to see that within a year's time. Right? Yeah. Like if I meet with you in the spring, we could potentially have this thing done by summer, fall, rather than waiting these 3, 4, 5, 6 years of planning. Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself having like a go-to, like, hey, this is the thing people are doing right now, it's new, it's cool? Or do you have any things that you like specifically like try to put into things, or how do you stay away from that?
That's a great question. We have our bread and butter of like what we're really good at, but we're also good at custom work. Like we can kind of roll with the times and be like, you know, this is kind of a new trend that's happening, or like get above those trends and sort of create that kind of that.
What's the in trend right now?
I mean, just with any home building, like clean whites and grays. Outside, even inside. I mean, if you look, people like doing remodels and stuff, I guarantee there's tons of whites, like neutral colors, clean lines, things like that. Yeah, that's the trend. 20 years ago, it was like beiges and browns, and you see that. So you see houses and homes interiors that are outdated, that have like, you know, not stained like natural woods and stuff like that. And I think everything goes through a cycle, like so that will come back eventually.
How? Like, I don't like, somebody literally on TikTok the other day was like, hey, I found these new like boat shoes. Like, these are interesting. I think they're called Sperry's.
You're like,
no,
those are dirty.
My heels are going to hurt. They're bleeding already.
Like, I've been through that. I'm not
so uncomfortable. I don't have socks. Like, just leave me alone.
Yeah, that was a college thing. I definitely wore my fair share of Sperry's in college.
I was dating a rich chick from St. Charles, and she's like, "You gotta get Sperry's." I'm like, "What?"
The new things are Birks now, though, right?
Are they?
I don't have a set of Birkenstocks, but
I'm married. She's not concerned. She knows my style.
You're like, hey, I'm sticking to it.
Like, I got bright clothes. Like, that's what we're rocking.
You are Lightbulb. You are one of a kind. Yeah.
Yep, appreciate it. I actually have 2 of these shirts, and I didn't know what, like, they're 2 different sizes. I made a mistake. So in case we bulk up a lot, I got another
You have
shirt
another
exactly
big one. You're preparing for it.
I'm prepared.
I'm sure people have asked you on this.
Yeah.
How did the name Lightbulb come up? Where did it come from?
So we'll go long story medium.
Okay.
Since forever, I always got clothes for Christmas, birthdays, holidays, and stuff like that. And then in high school, like, I started getting some disposable income, and I was like, oh, like, I can buy my own clothes. I was a cheap person. My mom raised me that way. So I was always in the clearance section, and neon stuff was always in the clearance, like 20 years ago. So I was like, this is new. This is different. I'm trying to become like my own person here.
Yeah.
So this was late high school. For about 3-4 years, I always had a lot of bright stuff. And then I was at rugby practice once. It's very early on. I get a pick and I start running down the opposite direction. It's fairly dark. And one of the guys goes, "Oh, there goes Lightbulb." And I'm like, wonderful name. Like, that's great nickname.
Yeah.
The guy that gave me the nickname, his team name was Retod, because his name was Todd. And there was way worse names on the team. And I'm like,
you're like, Lightbulb?
Yeah.
That's PG.
Absolutely. This is phenomenal.
I can go with that.
So I was like, I already have like the neon clothes. It was great. And then like from there, I started coaching CrossFit and playing rugby, and that was my life for like 3 years. So people only knew me as Lightbulb. Mm-hmm. So I think like a third of the people at my wedding only knew me as Lightbulb, and like girlfriends and like parents and stuff. Like, that's just what it was. But yeah, that's how I got the nickname of Lightbulb. And I'm like,
That's a cool story.
We'll take
so balling on a budget created your identity.
Yeah. Trying to be
Sometimes
different.
It works.
Yeah.
You just have to be you.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, it was great. I was being myself. Didn't care what anybody else said.
That's
and
awesome.
Just rolled with it. It was great. So you get the job here. How did you have the fortune about falling upon CrossFit?
Oh man, CrossFit was definitely a COVID hobby.
This is recent for you?
Yeah.
God damn it.
2020. Okay, so I think I reached out to Mike. By the way, CrossFit Amplify was the first gym and the only gym I reached out to, and I didn't have to look anywhere else.
His marketing is literally just being on Google for 15 years and being the first Google
there's
search.
Truly something because it worked for me. There's something to be said about being an affiliate of CrossFit.
Yeah.
I know they always talk about dues are going up and there's fees for that and whatnot. Is it really worth it? Do you get much out of it?
Yeah.
I straight up typed in CrossFit gyms near me.
Yep.
And the only way I knew about CrossFit was my friend's wife, Megan Elliott. She's shout out to her. She was trying to get me to do it in college, and I was like, absolutely no way. I'm not doing that. It's culty, whatever. All the stereotypes you hear about.
You're right.
I'm not doing it. No way. I can be as fit on my own. Blah blah blah. Whatever. But so anyway, going back to that, coming up on COVID, I think it was November or December 2019. I was like, I have to find something different. Yeah. I'm so sick and tired of this bro sesh at LA Fitness. I can't get into a rhythm. I'm plateauing.
Yeah.
I'm not getting any better, blah, blah, blah. Just typed in CrossFit gym near me. CrossFit Amplify popped up, sent Mike an email. He goes, do you have any fitness background? Come in and try it, whatever. Yeah. I went through the Elements class.
Who's your coach?
Scott and Kat.
Okay.
Yeah. They were both kind of worked through Elements with me. And I think I did 3 element training classes. And they're like, yeah, you know enough. I didn't know anything about Olympic weightlifting. Never did a clean, never did a snatch in my life.
Yeah.
But they were like, we'll correct your back squat. You can bench, you can deadlift. Let's throw you in with the Wolves. And so, I was only doing the most I could do at that time was 3 classes a week, and I would just be broken down.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you remember your first workout?
No, I really wish I did. I'm sure it was something that just something spicy Mike programmed up. I don't think it was any benchmark or hero workout or something specific that had a name to it.
Back then it used to be, well, I guess back then it's not back then for you, but most of them is you're going from CrossFit HQ or it was a Fran or it was something like that. And mine was Filthy 50, and I was jumping pull-ups, awesome. So I crushed a lot of the stuff because a lot of it wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
But then it was 50 walking lunges. I died.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't feel your ass the next day.
Yeah. And then it was burpees after that. And I was like, what is this? What is this?
But you're
movement?
I didn't use a single weight. And that's the most effective workout I've ever had in my life, right? You're how? I didn't pick up a dumbbell. I didn't pick up a barbell.
Right.
What do you mean I'm this sore?
Yeah. So you got hooked pretty quick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I'm super competitive at anything that I do, whether it's playing hockey or playing board games. I'm gonna try to win.
What's your most enjoyable board game right now?
Oh man, the one I played most recently was Scrabble, and I lost.
I'm dyslexic, so I get really pumped about words that are coming up and triple.
Spell it out.
It's that's not a word.
No, my favorite, probably all-time board game is Yahtzee, just doing the math and feeling there's some
better moves.
Yeah. You're oh, this is smarter. Put this one down. Don't use.
Are you a Catan guy at all?
I never played Catan.
No? Okay. It is if you have 2 to 3 hours to get frustrated with your friends.
Long games.
It's a great game for that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have that much. I am sort of impatient when it comes to that.
You can play it on your phone. Game done in 20, 30 minutes.
Oh, that's cool.
It's so fun. But a lot of my friends that come over, they're like, let's play it on the board. I'm like, we could get in 4 games. And they're like, no. I'm like,
on the board, the original way. Yeah. No, I've had some Monopoly games that go overnight.
Yeah.
And I don't really have the patience for that because I wanna see
for sure.
Yeah. and I'm not going to give in. Like, I'm not just going to forfeit. So
yeah, no, that's impressive. I definitely, if I think like it could go either way, I'm gonna be like, yeah, like I'll give it to you. Let's move on to something else.
But I like simpler things too. Like you can't go wrong with Uno or
very enjoyable
card game. Just a simple card game.
Yeah, I still remember my favorite play in BS was, so do you know how that works? Like you say, oh, 2 2s or like 3 4s or whatever it is.
Yep.
I said like 2 4s and I put down my whole hand. Like obviously you say BS, I pick everything up, but the person next to me was about to win, so they just slammed their cards down. So that made me win. Yeah. Still highlight. Still remember it. Yeah. It was like at a soccer game like 20 years ago. Yeah. Like 20 years ago. Yeah. Still very excited about that move. So with doing CrossFit, did your nutrition change at all, or what changed for you?
I mean, it changed as far as just like upping the intake of calories. Like, I'm not at all means, by any means, like I count my calories, I count my macros, I count fats that I take in. I am semi-conscious of like how much protein I'm intaking, but when I started CrossFit, it was just like, you have to eat as much as you can to fuel what you're burning in the gym. Yeah. And that's all it was. Yeah. So it wasn't like, go get, 10 Portillo's burgers or anything, but it was like, yeah, if you're hungry, eat.
Yeah. So what has changed since you started CrossFit to now?
Just being a little bit more conscious of like, if I just define something as like greasy food, I probably just won't eat it. Okay. Like if I know that it's going to kind of make me feel bad the next day, which there are certain things that do, then it's just like, probably just don't eat it.
Mm-hmm. So more so you're eating for performance, not necessarily like, oh, this is a good food, bad food. Like I would like to perform well, so I need to do this.
Simply like to fuel the fire. Yeah. Yeah. Like you gotta put in food for energy, and that's all it is.
Yeah. And was there any time that you're like, hey, I'm gonna eat just to try to get like a 12 pack, or like I just want less body fat, or like have you ever gone through that phase?
Not really. I've gone through the like, I need to try to eat more to put on weight, and the only way that I'm going to put on muscle and mass is to up the calorie intake that I'm currently consuming.
How uncomfortable was that?
I might have a tapeworm. Like I have an empty, like a bottomless stomach, so it never was very uncomfortable. Yeah. It's just like, damn, I can still keep going. Yeah, I'm still eating. I'm not full. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's keep doing it.
So how much has your body changed from when you started doing CrossFit to now?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know. Like you don't notice I've gotten a lot bigger. I've put on probably, since I started CrossFit, I've probably put on 25 pounds, and I'm sure it's mostly muscle.
Well, having worked out with your shirt off, mostly muscle. But here's your picture for middle school, and here's now. If I could throw that up there, that'd be great. I'll ask Hiller how to actually edit a video.
All right. If you do that, I'll send you. If you can figure it out, I'll give you the middle school photo, and I'll give you. Oh man, I'm sure I've got some good ones. Don't know where I'd find them, but I got to go back and.
Now you're gonna make me edit videos. Right, we can make this happen. We can put in more effort.
And I'll do the middle school like we were talking earlier, like before I hit the puberty too. So like I'm 5'4", like string bean, probably 110 pounds soaking wet. Yeah. And now just like 180, semi filled out. Right? Yeah.
So this is like, I think people listening to it, most people that want to get jacked, they give up after like a week or two because they're like trying to cut or whatever it is. But if you stay consistent doing CrossFit and like you just try to eat fairly well and like perform well, you're gonna get jacked. Yeah, I feel like it'd be very hard not to.
In my mind, it's very simple. It's like calories output, input calories. Yeah, and just don't make sure that there's somewhat of a balance there. Yeah.
What would you say the battle in your head is? Because I have a theory that most people that live a healthy life, they don't need a lot of motivation to do what they do on the regular. Yeah. Is there ever something where you have to push yourself really hard to do? And like, if so, how do you overcome that?
I don't know that there's, that's sort of a tough question. I like in my training or anything that I do, I kind of like pushing like the limits of what I think I could do. Prior to like me getting into CrossFit and running or anything like that, the most I'd ever ran was like maybe a 5K. And you're just like, oh man, I almost died then. But I didn't. I'm alive. Like, I probably could do a little bit more. Let's see how far you could push the body, right? So I don't like shy away from any of those things. I think one of my good friends, both my friends, Nick and Kaylee's running a marathon this October in Chicago, and we were out to dinner. It was like over a bottle of wine one night, and she was like, you should run it with me. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. Thankfully, Kaylee, I couldn't get in to it, so I got out of that. Ooh. I tried. I did actually try. It was already too late. But I'm sure it's going to come back up someday where she's like, I'm going to do another marathon. Now you got to sign up. And I'll do it. I mean, I've never run more than, at one point in my life, probably 10 or 11 miles. Yeah. But I don't know. If I can do 10, I can do 20. If I can do 20, I can do 25. I can do 26. Right. I think I could do it.
So say you did get in and you're doing something totally unknown. What's your steps to reaching that goal? Oh.
Obviously, you train towards that, but I don't think that I'd change much. Like, I'm still going to do CrossFit. I'm not going to step out of the gym and be like, I can't get bulky because I'm going to go run a lot. Yeah. I want to be like as well-rounded as I can be in anything. And I have a lot of different hobbies that are like athletic. I play softball. I like to go to the range, the archery range, and like do archery. I like to ride my bike. I like to work out. I like to golf.
Are you good at volleyball?
I'm competitive at it. Okay. I wouldn't say I'm good at it, but like team volleyball, I'm not gonna try. Yeah.
I just want to find one thing that can beat you at. We'll figure it out.
Spike ball, you might be able to beat me.
I enjoy spike ball.
Super competitive at spike ball, but I bet I could beat you.
Let me know.
I'd throw down on that. That or like any like lawn games too. Okay. What do you have a go-to like lawn game? Like spike ball or?
I do enjoy spike ball, badminton, any racket sport. Okay. I'm a big fan. Table tennis, absolutely.
Really?
Big fan. I was playing competitive table tennis before I was playing rugby.
You'd smoke me at ping pong then.
It's such a fun game. Yeah. I also played tennis in high school, so like that, it kind of helps with racket sports.
Helps, yeah. Yeah. I got into pickleball one summer.
Yeah, very fun game.
Yeah.
Oh, during COVID?
Yeah. It was like, we got to find something to do outside. Well, pickleball courts are open.
I have such a hard time with dinking the ball because usually in tennis, like, you just drive through.
Yeah.
But, like...
It's like, you got to...
Yeah, you're like, I got to dink it to get in. And it's like, okay, I got to work on that part of the game.
Yeah. I haven't played pickleball in a while, though. I've just got involved in too many other things. Have you ever played Can Jam?
Yes.
I love that game.
Yes.
That and Beersby. Oh, man.
Very fun game. Very fun game. So is there anything in your life that when something comes up, you don't have the motivation for, and then you're just like, I'm not going to do it? Like, how do you navigate that?
Yes. I truly think that if I'm not going to put like 75 to 100% into it, I'll say no.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll just be like, no, it's not something I can commit to.
Yeah.
And I think that just goes back to like my mom making me go to football practice.
Let's go, Mom.
Yeah, learning like, hey man, if you're gonna commit to it, like give it your all. Yeah. And if you're not gonna give it your all, don't commit to it.
Yeah. Is there any other? I want to say dimes, but that's not the correct word. Are there any more parts of wisdom that your parents bestowed upon you that you can remember?
Nothing that comes to mind. My dad's got plenty of.
He's got them up his sleeve and his pockets
that he says all the time that I probably should remember because he just repeats them nonstop. But
so we'll finish up where everyone else does. As far as the definition of health, what is yours? Not necessarily the dictionary definition, but what is health to you?
I think the definition of health is just like being well-rounded in everything that you do. So, and it's also, I think it's different per person, but for me, health is like going through my daily life, and not struggling with things, whether that's as simple for someone as walking up a flight of stairs and not getting out of breath, or going to run 10 miles and being able to do it. Like whatever you set out to do, do it well. Mm-hmm. And be good at that, or whatever. So
I like it. Yeah. Absolutely. And then what's something from your life that you think people listening to the podcast would be able to take away as a positive?
Maybe cliche, but just don't doubt yourself. Like if you think that there's a chance out there that you could jump on a bike and go ride it and get better today, like just go do it. Just try it. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to do it again. But that, like, CrossFit is truly like my example of something that I was so damn stubborn on for the longest time. And I look back and I don't really have any regrets on not doing it sooner, but looking back, I'm like, I know that this thing was around, like, when it was brought to my plate and was like, here, you could do this. I could have done it sooner. And I'm glad I did it when I did it. But looking back too, it was like, I knew about this in college. I knew about it 5 years earlier. Yeah. Just didn't jump into it. But I'm very glad that I did, because I'm absolutely at my fittest today. And I just continue to really kind of keep improving on that. And I think it's fun.
Love it. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming over, having me on.
Yeah.
This has been fun.
Nailed it.
Sweet.